Audacity test 1, 2.
I think this will be the shooting the shit posture.
Yeah,
we should adopt.
Yeah, I mean, see, we're still getting good volume here.
English test, algebra test, nightmares.
Okay.
Seems like it's all getting picked up.
Pregnancy test. Okay, there we go.
The real nightmares.
Yeah. If any of my kids. That's... Hello and welcome to the Cinematic Anarchy podcast. I'm Chris. With me today we have Omar.
Good evening, or whatever time you're listening to this, everybody.
And we have Seth.
Pleasure to meet you guys. Glad to be here.
And just a prior warning before we get started, we are a spoiler-based podcast. We are not really talking about anything specific this time, but if we do happen to be talking about a particular movie, understand we are going to spoil the hell out of it. So pause what you're listening to, go ahead and watch the movie, and then come back to us, and hopefully we'll be moderately entertaining anyway.
You have been warned.
So just to start with, I wanted to go around and just kind of get the feeling of how you're approaching this podcast, guys. I'm going to just state that I'm here because I've been watching a lot of movies lately, and after going through all of the various sites that I watch things on, reading a few magazines, books, so on and so forth, I realized that I've seen nothing. I've seen less than a percentage of the movies out there that I would love to sit down and watch, and I am specifically enamored, because that's the best word I could think of for that, with bad movies, shitty, low-budget grindhouse cinema. I love that stuff.
And that big word moment was brought to you by whoever our first sponsor is going to be.
I'm not sure. I don't even think we have a sponsor at this point. You guys are our sponsors. I'm not asking for money. I don't have any hands out over here.
If anything, we're here to hand you knowledge.
Yeah, this is a journey for me. This is hopefully a journey to discover movies that I haven't seen before, knew nothing about, rewatch a few old favorites, and yeah, that's about it for me. What are you guys here for?
I'm just here to listen. I'm here for the drinks. Nah. Well, my name is Omar. My approach to movies, as with most things I love in life, like card and books and a lot of other things, actually came from music. My first love is music. And I started getting a lot of inspiration from music. I dabbled in music creation. I'm an electronic music producer, hip-hop, house, stuff like that. Came through just pretty much looking for inspiration. Came into some art, came into some books. Eventually came into some movies, specifically bad movies, and I fell in love with them. Mainly through the use of cannabis, better known as marijuana. It was the thing I would like to smoke to, bad movies. And it became things that I do when I'm sober, which now at my older age is most of the time. I enjoy a bad movie now, like when I used to smoke a lot.
I'm more of a beer and bad movie guy.
And that's where I come in. I'm kind of the dead center between both of you guys. I don't mind the beer or the marijuana. I'll take both of those and watch the same movies. But my inspiration pretty much came from growing up and not being able to watch movies. I was very Christian at home. I'm Seth, by the way. I go by Zeph. But very Christian at home. As soon as I got that little bit of freedom, it didn't matter whether it was main budget, low budget. I watched those movies.
I haven't introduced you to Trauma yet, have I?
You've brought them up, but I really haven't watched any movies. So.
Don't worry, I'll take a little bit of time, drag you over to the house, a couple of beers. I will pollute the ever-living hell out of your mind.
It's okay.
Because that is what Trauma is good for. New York-based, fantastic, low-budget, ultra low-budget film company. Great practical effects. A lot of offensive material, a lot of TNA, a lot of love for them right here.
I think Trauma is like the punk rock of the bad movie genre as a whole.
I would say punk rock if they were like the Red Hot Chili Peppers on stage with just a sock right there.
Pretty much.
Just that's Trauma right there. This in your face, no apologies.
I mean, and that's kind of how I live my life anyways, so. I'll make an apology. Doesn't mean I mean it.
So my personal first experience with bad movies, I'm going to go ahead and give a quick shout out to a friend of mine, Allison. I don't know if you're going to listen to this or if you even have the time because you're busy as hell. But a friend of mine, Allison, I used to go to her house frequently, and we'd go and she had a basement, nice finished basement, big TV, or big TV for the time, which probably would have been about 30 inches. And we would rent just stacks of VHS cassettes. And we started with some simple stuff. She had a thing for Clive Barker, so we watched the Hellraiser movies, Nightbreed, stuff like that. And then we slowly descended into the madness, which is low-budget horror films. And one that stood out in particular was a movie called Dead Time Stories, which was sort of I want to say a take on Mother Goose nursery rhymes, which kind of stuck with me. That's one of the ones I remember the most. But yeah, no, that's just gathering in that basement with a bunch of friends and just sitting around watching bad movies, literally from dusk till dawn. That was my experience.
Special shout out to Allison. I hope you're listening.
Again, going with Barry White there. That's good. Late night. Hello.
And welcome to our show.
Thank you, Allison. We wouldn't be here without you.
No, I mean, when it comes to like my inspiration for bad movies, like I said, growing up in the Christian home, I wasn't allowed to watch anything. I remember walking around Blockbuster and seeing movies like Hellraiser, and if you going, ooh, I want to watch that, and just getting shunned over to the family section where I couldn't even watch Barney or Aladdin because magic. So
I'm not sure how magical Barney the Talking Dinosaur is.
I mean, apparently imagination and magic go hand in hand.
A bad trip, maybe.
Yeah. So I wasn't really allowed to branch out and watch too many movies. Growing up, with my friends, I did start getting into the marijuana or the pot or the hippie turf.
What was the first bad movie, though? The first bad movie that caught you?
The first bad movie that I actually want to say got me would be Bones. It was the Snoop Dogg movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Bones.
The color of the blood was not blood colored. Apparently, they didn't get that one right.
It was. I remember Bones. I love Bones because of how bad it was, but such a great story it was. Just so wrong, so poorly executed.
It's like an urban Tales from the Crypt kind of thing.
Kind of thing, like Tales from the Hood kind of thing.
It's another one.
But the thing with Bones, I don't know if anybody remembers the low-budget horror films where the blood looked like paint. But then the more mainstream movies that the blood looks super realistic, Bones was like in between that.
Yeah, dude. It wasn't. It wasn't like here's some red paint, but it was also the blood was kind of orange, if I remember.
It was very weird looking blood.
Badly dyed Caro syrup.
It was awful.
Yeah, between that one and Cracker Jack, those were the two movies that I saw. I don't think you two got into the Cracker Jack one. I remember bringing that one up to you the other day, which is a bad movie we could possibly.
There was a couple of Stray Cat Rock films that I watched with you where the paint, it literally just looked like they just threw red paint on the ground.
It looked super pure, creamy looking red paint. Like it looked kind of thick.
Like they dyed milk.
Yeah,
like when you make a smoothie with all kinds of berries and beets and stuff and it comes out super red and super thick. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it looked like bright red. Yeah. Very thick.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but blood.
They could have gotten
out pretty much like water and not paint.
Well, they could have gotten acrylic paint, red acrylic paint, to make it look a little more like blood. But I feel like probably intentionally they didn't.
It was cheaper. Could have been a cheaper effect for them than actually going the other way.
That is probably true.
Go to your local Home Depot, have them mix up a paint can of blood for you. And what was your first experience with truly low budget cinema?
My first experience with truly low budget film cinema, I was just looking for something to watch. I had started trying to get into more movies, looking for inspiration for music at that time. I was in my mid-teens, and I watched a movie called Molokai Cargo, which had a lot of TNA. The worst acting, I guess. If you, nobody measured up in terms of bad acting to those ladies in those movies. Very good-looking ladies, though. Considering my taste at that time, but it was bad. It was an action flick. There was supposed to be some kind of like a federal agents type of spies. Just think a few Cleopatra Jones. Worse acting, of course, and it was crazy.
So not quite Pam Grier level.
Not quite Pam Grier level acting at all. The action, it would have been a great movie if it would have been a mainstream film, because the story was not bad at all. The acting sucked. And I guess they made up for that with the TNA.
So they had a slightly larger budget for Pam Grier. Yeah, that might have been a better movie.
And I haven't seen that movie in so long that I don't remember any of the actors. I doing the quotation marks here. Or actresses. Actor. I don't remember their names.
Probably because they don't exist anymore.
But we shall find...
I'm sure they exist somewhere.
I actually will search out that movie.
They sunk the boat after they were done.
My plan is to search out that movie and watch it with the guys, and we'll talk about it here, because it was so bad it was funny. And that's how I came into bad films, because some of them weren't even meaning to be funny, but they were so bad they made me laugh.
Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
I got my laughs a lot with bad movies.
So I've been watching a lot of movies lately. A ton, actually. More than probably is healthy. And I think I've force-fed a couple of movies to you guys. Or at least ideas.
Depression.
I said unhealthy, not necessarily depressed. I love bad movies, so that it doesn't sadden me to just sit here and watch a ton of them. Except for the fact that I generally just sort of sit in front of a television by myself and watch them, because there's not a single... I live with 3 women, and there's another gentleman who plays a lot of video games in my house, but none of them like the movies that I watch. So literally anything that I'm sitting down, hey guys, I'm watching a movie, the room clears. They're gone. Hey, well, yeah, we'll see you later. We got this TVs in other rooms of the house. You take that one, we're out of here.
Yeah. No, when I remember depression, my mother, that's a funny story about me. I'd get out of work or go home or watch a TV show or a movie.
Let me cut you off for a funny story about depression.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not really depressed. No, my mom told me she's like, if you don't get out of your room one of these days, I'm going to get you a therapist, because she's under the impression I'm depressed. So that's where that joke came from. I'm like, Mom, I like movies. That's what I like to do. My friends all have kids. I don't. Like, let me live.
Can't apologize for having kids.
Well, you know, I mean,
wouldn't be healthy for me to apologize for having kids anyway.
Yeah, but you also wouldn't have time for the podcast if you had a newborn baby. You know,
I'm sure there will be some parents with no compunction to apologize for their kid's existence. I'm sorry, I made him. You will find parents like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I might apologize to other people sometimes. Yeah, I am really sorry. I apologize for that. We won't come back. Don't worry.
I might have when my kids were little. My kids are older now; they're more grown. But I could see myself probably feeling the urge to feel bad for. And tell people I'll do better next time.
If any of my children sit down and deem me worthy enough to listen to any of what I'm doing right now, they'll more than likely disown me. So I told them, I warned them ahead of time that nothing's safe. So
it is.
I'm gonna poke.
Oh no,
I poke the bear frequently.
Yeah. My kids know I love them dearly, and I'm very proud of them. But there were times, and sometimes there's still times where they make me feel like apologizing to someone.
Speaking of trauma, I did force feed Omar here a movie.
Okay.
I force fed him the lovely film Pigs.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed Pigs.
If you get a chance to watch that was a treasure right there.
So, as you have been forewarned,
see if I got that in my room.
So you have been forewarned about the spoilers. Pigs is a very unique case of a bad movie because it was like 3 stories in a movie. Because it begins with the story of a girl running from something. Then it becomes about some pigs that are fed humans by the pig's owner. And then it becomes about that girl that was running, becoming a killer. That she was deranged, just like the man that owned the pigs, which also, like everything, got into that movie. And that's the magic of bad films. It can go like so many ways at the same time that it may confuse the hell out of you.
No, there's one movie in particular that I brought up to Chris a couple months ago. And, this is something, Omar, I want you to watch as well. When I brought it up to Chris, we found out that it was a trilogy. But this particular movie was called Nowhere. And that is where that movie went.
Right.
Nowhere.
I believe that this conversation came up because I was talking about the Doom generation.
Yes.
And you knew about the fact that was actually part of a trilogy. So now I'm trying to hunt it down, and I realize I'm looking on eBay, and I'm looking on Amazon, and like people have like DVD copies and VHS copies, but they're so obscure, people are asking like $50, $100, $150. I'm like, I'm the kind of guy that goes to the cutout bin and grabs things for $1. I'm not paying $100 for a DVD, so it'll wait until somebody slips up and just gives me one.
And that's actually, thanks to Comcast, that's how me and my friends found that movie. Once again, bring the cannabis back into effect. We're just hanging over at my buddy Josh's house. We went on free movies with Comcast. There's like 20,000 of them. And boom, we found this movie called Nowhere.
I watched the Doom generation, and God love Rose McGowan. I love her. But that movie required a few drinks to get through.
Oh, yes.
It was hard to get through.
I've seen it. I was under the impression that I was like, hey, okay, so I never thought that marijuana was really that bad of a thing until I watched this movie, and then I questioned my sanity because I didn't know where there was no real beginning, middle, or end. It didn't match up at all, and that's why I fell in love with bad movies in a way, because where this movie went nowhere, and that's what it was called. And
Nowhere.
Yes.
That kind of makes sense then. I see what you're saying.
It went from, a sexually troubled boy to he's no longer sexually troubled, to alligators in the sewers, to aliens, to who God knows what. So we may get into that in another podcast.
I'm also sure that movie couldn't have come out of a sober mind. Just like Pigs.
No decent bad film comes out of a sober mind.
It is true.
Frank Henenlotter, one of my favorite directors, nothing that he did looks like anything less than an LSD trip. Just straight out, balls to the wall, exploitation. It's everything that he does. A lot of gore, a lot of, some of the later stuff is a lot of TNA. He's very proud of the fact that he is exploitation through and through. I've watched almost all of his films. I have 3 that now I'm saying almost all the films. I haven't watched all the films. I've watched 50% of the films because he's got like 7 movies out there. I've watched 4.
Yeah.
The other 3, which is the other 2 parts of the Basket Case trilogy and Bad Biology, I have not had a chance to watch. Okay, my brain just checked out there for a minute. Pardon.
Hey, I put subtitles on. I read too.
But after reading a Fangoria article about Bad Biology and then finding out that they actually have it free on Tubi.com, I am definitely going to take the time to sit down and watch that. I don't care that there's commercials attached to that.
That's one thing I'm not a huge fan of. Commercials.
Not a fan of commercials?
Not at all.
Honestly, the way that they do them, they're not terribly invasive. I was just watching American Gothic today, and those may be like 4 commercials during the entire thing. But they place them just in such a way that it doesn't feel like you're being pulled out of the movie forcefully. Like there's a couple of apps that'll just force feed you in the middle of like a climactic moment, the commercial, you know.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but if it's a really bad movie, I kind of like commercials. It gives me a sense of watching that bad movie like on USA Network or something that I was watching as a young, as a teenager, versus like watching it on the HBOs and the Cinemax and whatever I could afford after I got out of my parents' house.
Up All Night with Gilbert Godfrey and Rhonda Shear.
You see the commercials. Yeah, Gilbert Godfrey.
What you gotta do? I can't even do a Gilbert Godfrey right now.
Nah, he will say, well, this movie.
There we go. I just remember the Frosted Cheerios commercial. Way to pick somebody who's good with kids for a kid's cereal, right?
No, not right at all.
No, not at all.
I got Omar here to watch Brain Damage, one of Frank Henenlotter's best films.
I enjoy that very much.
And that movie was a trip.
Yeah,
literally a literal
again. Somebody was on something.
That pun was kind of on the nose.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna leave it for today. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. This is a basic introductory podcast for us. If you guys want to sign off.
And once again, this is Zeph or Seth. I appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. Hopefully you come back, listen for more. We are going to have plenty of movies that we do watch and we're going to review. I believe the one that is next will be Mayhem. It's featuring Stephen Yeun. Yeah, is that right or wrong? I mean, he's from
that's how I'm reading it. Stephen Yeun and
he's from The Walking
Samara
Dead.
Weaving.
He was Glenn.
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving.
That girl right there. If they didn't pick up Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn, that girl would have been perfect. Just the eyes alone. She's got the eyes and the laugh down pat.
I've seen her in other stuff. Now I can't remember the title. And yeah, she could play a good crazy.
She's in The Babysitter on Netflix, and she's actually...
I've seen her on the trailer for that, too. She can play one hell of a crazy.
She's in most of the Resident Evil movies.
Well, that's...
I wish if you're watching us, follow us on Twitter, Samara Weaving, and let us know if you're one hell of a crazy, or how do you get through playing one hell of a crazy, because you're really good at playing a crazy.
Okay, yeah. And if she even wants to talk to us after that, you're crazy. You're crazy. You play crazy. You're good at crazy.
If she wants to talk to us after that, I think she's not crazy at all.
No.
I want you to
because she will find it funny too.
We love you. We love you.
I personally love
well, she's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about crazy. If I had a rose for every time I thought of you, I could walk through my garden forever. But on another note, somebody else take this away from me.
Wow.
Well, no. I really would love to continue talking about Seth Crush. I like that. Anyhow, no, she's a very good actress. Is what I'm trying to say. And I'm sure she'll understand the fun of that. Yeah,
that's what we're hoping on. Actress that's not just from pulling from real life.
Yeah,
you know.
So you guys can go follow us on Twitter at.
We are at Cinematic Anarchy. The Y on the end is a 1, not a Y. And we are also on Facebook. We have a Facebook page for Cinematic Anarchy. And we're on Twitter as well. Thank you for listening. And have a wonderful day, night, or wherever you're listening to this.
Good night. Peace and love, everybody. And keep watching movies.
Stay true.